What are you doing going into the forest alone? Not afraid, right? Hey, did you hear the sound, like the tokuk or house gecko's voice? The myth is that if you hear tokuk sounds like this, it is a sign that there are spirits around us. If the sound is clear, it is a sign that they are far from us. But on the contrary, if the voice sounds farther away, it means he is getting closer to us. Tokuk or house gecko, and their sounds are often associated with beliefs and myths in some Indonesian communities. Until now, many people still believe in superstitions like this. Starting from a sign of bad luck, a sign of the presence of supernatural creatures, to some who believe that this animal is able to ward off evil. For example, some Javanese people believe that the sound of a tokuk is associated with the myth of a sign of luck or disaster. Based on Javanese Primbon, even the number of tokuk's voice numbers has meaning. Some mean good and some don't. If it rings 3 times, it means that the person who hears it will experience loneliness. If it beeps 4 times, it's a sign that a problem is coming. Well, if it sounds 6 times, it's a sign that a disaster is coming. But I'm curious, in modern times like now, do you still believe in things like this? I believe that the tokuk's or house gecko's voice is a natural signal, for example, the mating season, and indicates its territory in nature. Tokuk are solitary or solitary animals. They prefer to be alone when hunting prey or also wandering. That's why tokuks will make sounds, to attract members of the opposite sex when they enter mating season. If earlier the tokuk came from Indonesia, this one comes from abroad. He is a gecko. Tokuk or house gecko and common geckos are still in the same family, namely Geckonoidea or lizards. Look, there are so many different colors, beautiful and adorable. Friends continue to develop gecko motifs and colors to produce beautiful colors. The brighter the gecko's color, the more expensive it is. Wow! Let me introduce you to the most expensive gecko here. The type is bold stripe. Per head can be priced at 6 million Indonesian rupiahs. Wow, that's really lucky. What do you think makes geckos so expensive? Pay attention to the bright yellow color. It's really interesting. Apart from that, this gecko also has one interesting characteristic. Try to look above his head. Let's look carefully. You can see the symbol of a smiling person up there. Very unique, huh? This uniqueness is what makes the price more expensive compared to other types of gecko. The easy care of geckos also makes many people interested in keeping them. But there is one special treatment that you shouldn't miss, namely giving calcium, which is useful for gecko bone health. If the geckos lacks off calcium, his bones can become weak and become paralyzed over time. Wow, that's scary. Wait a minute, why am I suddenly getting goosebumps? It turns out this leopard gecko is the one who keeps glaring at us. Don't worry, he doesn't want to bother you. Leopard gecko friends are territorial animals. If threatened, they will move their tail like this in the hope that the enemy will be afraid. That's right, it turns out there are other males in your area. It's no wonder you've been looking uncomfortable. Our friend right here will attack his opponent by biting. The movement was sudden. Thank goodness the other males were willing to go. Things are safe now. By the way, beauties can be fierce too, right? Luckily, Olpino didn't have any problems, so everything was under control. Report completed. Even though tokuk and geckos look similar, there are differences between their two legs. Geckos do not have suction pads like the soles of tokuk's feet. But make no mistake, geckos are good at climbing trees. Geckos can only climb on rough media by relying on their nails, while tokuk can stick to various media, even slippery glass surfaces. Tokuk can stick because the soles of their feet have suction pads. On the pads there are small, intricate feathers. The bonds between the wall molecules and the tokuk's hair interact with each other, allowing the tokuk to stick to any medium. Wow! So, are you a tokuk or Spider-Man? What other animal is this? How come it doesn't look like a tokuk or gecko? Do any of you know what this is? At first glance, it looks like a lizard, but it's not. You don't believe, just try to pay attention carefully. It is flying gecko. As the name suggests, the flying gecko has the ability to float in the air. But remember, just soar, not fly like a bird. This flying gecko has membranes on each side of its body, and also on its fingers. The tail is also flat, different from gecko types in general. The presence of this membrane makes the gecko appear to be flying while in the air. The membrane and flat shape of the tail can produce lifting power. That's what keeps it from falling straight to the ground and can float as if it were flying. That's why it is called a flying gecko. Try paying attention to the soles of this flying gecko's feet. It's like having soft fur, right? These fine hair-like structures are commonly called seta. Gecko legs can support 20 times their body weight. Cool. After floating, why do you swim? It turns out that in certain situations, these flying geckos can save themselves by swimming. Naturally, something like this could happen, such as when being chased by a predator, or even when hunting for food. The membranes on their fingers are also useful. When the gecko is in water like this, his swimming ability and style were extraordinary. Maybe we can have a swimming competition once in a while? By the way, how come your skin is still dry after playing with water? This flying gecko's skin is indeed water resistant, aka waterproof. When water drips on the skin, the water will remain clotted and immediately slide under the skin. He has spinules or special hairs that are shaped like needles and are scattered all over the surface of his skin. When exposed to water, the spinules will react to throw the water back from the body. That's why this flying buddy is waterproof. Not only that, the gecko also has distant relatives who come from Papua. It is also known as the beetle gecko. Most of the Papuan gecko's time is spent in trees and coral rocks. Its long and strong claws and nails are able to support its body to climb. Oh yeah, did you notice? If the gecko's eyes don't have eyelids that can close, so what if its eyes get dusty? Hey, don't worry. This Papuan gecko has another way to clean its eyes. The gecko will stick its tongue up to its eyes. Slowly, his tongue will spread and begin to clean his dirty eyes, just like a water wiper on a car windshield. Once you sweep your eyes, water and dirt are immediately removed. Currently, there are not only geckos on this farm, but there are also native Indonesian geckos. Look at the gecko cage. Really cool, right? So, these can be bred when they reach maturity or measure around 25 centimeters. Each cage will only be filled with one pair of geckos, one male and one female. Those who are good at sticking are nocturnal animals, meaning they are more active at night. So don't be surprised if they like to hide in dark and warm places. If you pay attention, there are lots of eggs in this gecko's cage. The eggs stick to the walls or paralon in the cage. In nature, this method aims to protect their eggs from being targeted by predators. Oh yes, in 1 year, geckos can only produce 4 eggs, and the eggs will hatch after 2 months.